I don't
Oh,
want to
oh,
interrupt.
oh.
There you go. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I don't get that all, but
No, it's all good. So technically, then we don't have it on record that I'm a stripper, but yet again, we do because we just hit record. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. So what I want to do is I want to share some things with you ladies today that I have found over the years that have really helped me with my breakthroughs. And Michelle has given me the screen sharing capabilities. I'm going to go up here and let's see if I can get this. There we go. I'm going to shrink us, just kind of collapse that a little bit. And I just love this picture. If this could be every day, right? It's called a vacation for a reason, ladies, because it's not our everyday. However, this picture can represent an inner peace and a mindset that we can experience every day, whether we are at home, on the job, or actually getting away. And so for me, CRAP stands for chaos, rules, attitudes, and perspective. I want to share, whoops, got a little happy on there. I wonder if any of you can relate to feeling frustrated, especially this time of year. Is there too much going on, too many demands? You've got a lot of people and things pulling and tugging at you. And then, oh, by the way, you're encouraged to take care of yourself and be thankful. And speaking of thankful, I'd be thankful if I learned how to work these buttons. I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like for y'all. Hopefully it's not like this. But if we go into it anticipating this,
Well,
we're going to set ourselves up for not the best day possible. So one of the things I like to share is a story about the ham. And the story goes like this. There was a young newlywed couple, and after fixing ham for her husband the first few times, he made an observation. He said, honey, why do you always cut off the end of the ham and throw it away? And she said, well, that's the way my grandmother always made it. So the next time they were with grandmother, the husband asked, why do you always cut the end off the ham and throw it away? And she said, well, because the ham was always bigger than my pan. So when we seek understanding, as opposed to just assuming, when we seek clarity, our entire lives and our worlds change. So just because something's always been a certain way doesn't mean it has to. So let's dive into your crap. Okay. Let me pull that back up here. Here we go. Oh, hello. There's me in all my glory. Okay. So what I'd like is, if at all possible, for you to provide your full focus for the next little bit, because learning is decreased by 40% when we are, and that's in air quotes purposely, multitasking. There really is no such thing as multitasking. There's switch tasking, because tasking addresses cognitive engagement. And truly, to focus on two different things at the same time is darn near impossible, and it sure is crazy making, which to that, I think some of you would say amen. So also, if you can, silence or turn off your phone, close any tabs. If you can, close your door. Just allow yourself to focus on you for the next few minutes. This is one of my favorite quotes. The cost of your new life is your old one. In other words, when we hear you can have it all, you can have the best of both worlds. Yeah, not really. You're going to have to give up some things that are common, that you're used to, in order to allow room for new ones to take hold. So what I'd like to do today is help you identify why you're feeling stuck or frustrated or dissatisfied or trapped or overwhelmed or, right? Because, as Amanda Lindout says, with awareness comes responsibility. Just a quick reminder what CRAP stands for. It's chaos, rules, attitudes, and perspective. So let's dive right into chaos. Speaking of tomorrow, where do we find chaos in our lives? Chaos can be found in our relationships. And that has to do with the dynamic, the of the relationships that we have with people. It can also be found on our calendar. I've got news. You are in charge of your calendar. If it's on your calendar, it's because you allowed it. So when we think about our calendars and we think about our relationships, we can really identify a lot of the things that we would consider chaos or crazy making. Jim Rohn is known for saying you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So remember that iron sharpens iron. If you're hanging around people who are good at setting boundaries, if you're hanging around people who are strong in their convictions, then it's going to be a lot easier to do the same because they're going to lead by example. I want you to get rid of 3 words in your vocabulary: coulda, shoulda, and woulda. I like to say, do not should on yourself. You heard me correctly, should. Do not should on yourself. All of these words are shame and guilt and pressure inducing. Just like the expression have to. How many things do you really have to do? That's a good opportunity for you to do a self-assessment and get real with yourself, because maybe some things need to be done, but are you the one who has to be responsible for them? Could they be delegated? And I get it. Your spouse, your child, your partner, they may not fold the towels the way you do. However, if they're folded, right? So like, what's the bottom line? What's the goal? Is it to have the towels folded to free you up to do something else? Or is it they are folded a certain way? And then something else that can induce chaos are our hurts, habits, and our hangups. The more we are deep in those, the more chaos we have. So I'd like to stop for just a minute. I had to bring y'all up so I could see you and ask you to just take a few seconds. It looks like most of you are trying to take some notes. Identify what are the top 3 chaos producers in your life. And you don't have to share unless you want to, but this is being streamed live to who knows where. So you may just want to keep that information and that awareness to yourself. But the first step is having the awareness. The top 3 chaos producers. And recently I was challenged by one of my coaches and I was asked, is chaos always a bad thing? And I actually paused instead of just rattling off an answer right away. And I said, I think yes and no. It depends upon the kind of chaos. So for example, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a grandma, right? Okay. And congratulations to all of you who've been able to experience that life promotion to grandma. I would say having a bunch of little kids that are grandbabies running around the house, that can be good chaos. I would say that picture I showed of you or showed to you of that family at Thanksgiving, that would be bad chaos. So, excuse me, y'all. I'm not used to Texas weather yet. When you look at what's going on around you, is it creating drama? That's how you would say, this is bad chaos. This is not the type of chaos I want. I mean, I love the hustle and the bustle and the flurry and the activity. My normal speed is like 90 miles an hour. Some would think that is chaotic. To me, that's normal. But if you throw drama in there, then I'm in chaos. But if you throw fun things, things that I enjoy, things that make my heart smile, as I like to say, then someone else may consider it chaos. But to me, it's what I enjoy doing. So let's move on to the next letter in CRAP, and that stands for rules. Now, obviously, I can't see everybody who's watching this live or who may see the recording of it, but all y'all, I can tell you right now, no matter how much moisturizer you use, I know each and every one of you is over the age of 18. Okay, I'm just saying. I know you're over 18. That means you are also the boss of you. That means you have a voice and legal rights to say no and to not do things. So ask yourself, what are the processes and the procedures that, like that ham, you just do them because you're used to doing them. And when you step back and think and ask yourself, is that really serving me? If the answer is no, scratch it off the list, right? Now, there's a difference between rules and guidelines, or guardrails, as I like to call them. So a guideline is something that keeps you going in the right direction. It can have to do with finances, relationship, your career, education, health and wellness. Guidelines. Okay. I'll use one that a lot of people can relate to. When it comes to eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle, a lot of people will say, hey, a guideline is to eat clean and healthy in appropriate portions 80% of the time. So, 5 out of 7 days a week. And to get your body moving 3 to 5 times a week. Those are good guidelines. They keep you on a path of health or to better health. Now, if you don't observe those guidelines, then you run into the guardrails. So imagine going down the highway, driving on your car, and when you start to get out of the lines, the guidelines, you hit those little things on the side of the highway and you go, right? Your tires or whatever. I'm not very good at sound effects. That lets you know, oops, get back on. It's like when you go to zip your pants. Oops, got to get back on. Those were a little snugger than I wanted to. The guardrails, those metal things, those brick walls, when you go too far out of the guidelines, you're going to rub up against those. Mm-hmm. You're going to cause some damage. You're going to scrape your car. You're going to dent your car. And if they're the little metal ones that are low, you keep pressing, you're going to go over and land in a ditch. So when you have a rule in your life, make sure it serves you. Don't let it own you. Make sure that you are in agreement with it. And if you can't be in agreement with it, at least understand it, right? So there are some rules that maybe I don't agree with, but I understand where they're coming from so I can appreciate them. This little jar here is my segue into attitude. But before we go there, I would just like to open it up and see if anybody has had a question that has popped up, or would you like to share a little light bulb moment that you've had, Michelle?
Well, when you said, does your rule serve you? Remember when we were young mothers and we would make these rules with our kids, and sometimes the rules were like so wild that we couldn't even enforce them. But if we did enforce them, they wouldn't serve us well, because then we were like in jail, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember struggling with that, like, wait a minute, I just gave them this consequence, but if I actually follow through with that rule, who does it harm? Or not really harm, but it would hurt me, because then I couldn't do something that I wanted to do. But it's right. Just another analogy of, sometimes, we take our rules to the nth degree and then they don't serve us well. So good point.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, Michelle. And we as a society, human beings, whether we are involved with people who are in addiction or not, our kind of standard mode of operation is extreme. Mm-hmm. We go from 0 to 180, right? So what about 45 degrees? What about 90? What about living somewhere? For the longest time, I used to say, I don't know what a gray area is. I know black, I know white. That's all I know. I don't know where living in the gray is. And I've come to realize, especially since I stopped dyeing my hair, that gray is beautiful. Gray can give you some room to breathe. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they want to share? Renee may, or not Renee, but Lucretia may be unmuted just by accident, and that's okay.
So also what some of the moms struggle with often is boundaries with their addicted loved ones. And, I'm asked the question, should I buy my addicted loved one a phone? And I never make that like rule.
Mhm.
It's such a gray area. And so Teresa can relate to this, but um, oftentimes we choose to do that because the antidote to addiction is connectivity. And we want to be able to have that connective piece. And so
Mhm.
it's worth, it's worth it to us. And that's another really good way to measure that. Is that rule going to serve you well? And so, yeah, this is really powerful in our world. This just thinking about this and setting our boundaries.
Yeah, yeah. And I know one of the things I learned early on my journey was principles over personalities. So if any of your other children or loved ones asked for a phone, what would you say to them? And if the answer would be yes, then can you give that unconditionally with boundaries? You can have terms, but to say, you know what, I'm going to do this for me in hopes of, not as a way of guilting someone else or putting pressure, but to let them know, hey, I love you. I care. I want to stay connected. I'm willing to do this because of that. And yeah, it's a challenge to have clear, concise, because none of us are perfect on a good day. And when we add any type of addiction to it, it just magnifies that, right? So yeah, Lucretia.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I muted? Okay. Another example of that is, using the grandchildren, because when they are bounced back and forth, to their mom and their dad or whatever, and then you get them, and then you have your rules, it's like they learn what they can do at your house and what they can do at their house. And so we are actually sort of co-parenting with my daughter and son-in-law, and we have to be on the same page, or the kid just, it's just not good.
Yeah.
It's chaos, so
Yeah.
so we have to, it's not just we're Mimi and Pop, where we see them, 4 or 5 times a year.
Mhm.
We actually are co-parenting with them. So yeah, rules. We have rules, we have boundaries. And
Yeah,
when you have
you
a
have to have,
strong, yeah, and a strong-willed child will push them. Oh, he'll push them.
oh yeah,
So
yeah. I are one. So I know. I have a nephew who's also a firstborn. And I'm like, oh no, no, nay, nay.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
I've been around the sun a lot more than you, baby.
that's right. Look right here. Look right here. Repeat what I'm saying.
Except now he's like this. I'm like, look down here. Look down here.
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
yeah.
all right. Let's go to, speaking of attitude. Interesting that that's the next one.
Yeah.
So here's what this jar represents to me. You may be familiar with the story of the fleas. And when this jar has a lid on it and you poke holes and you put the fleas in, because of course we don't want to, we don't want to kill any fleas. We do, but we don't, trying to be sensitive to the humanitarians. What they will do is they will jump to try to get out. And once they've been trained, you can take the lid off and they're not going to go beyond, because they have been molded by their environment, their attitude, their assumption. It's another word that could be used with attitude, is that they can't go beyond it. So our attitudes or our opinion, number one, what other people's opinions or attitudes are about you are none of your business. I've had people say, do you want to know what I think? And y'all, one of the most powerful things I've ever said is no, not really. Because depending upon who the person is, they may not have earned the privilege to speak into my life like that. And what happens when we start sharing opinions is we start altering. Sometimes we will sugarcoat things. Sometimes based on our experience with others, we will go a little aggressive, if you will. So when it comes to opinions, I'm sure you've heard the expression, opinions are like noses. Everyone has one, and some smell better than others. So be real careful. Stick to facts and ask others to stick to facts as well. And remember, you're not responsible for other people. You're responsible to other people. So when it comes to your attitude, I know that each of you are here because you have a desire for kindness and you are someone who is responsible. Remember, you are only responsible to other people, not for other people. If they have a bad attitude, that's on them. That's a them problem. That's not on you. We can't make other people happy. They have to be happy themselves and with themselves. I feel like I missed. Okay, I didn't. Want to move on to perspective because I want to allow some time for some questions and things. Perspective. You all do not see the whole picture here. When
Hey,
you see
Daphne,
this, yes, ma'am.
You're not screen sharing.
I'm not. Oh,
No.
my Linda.
That's
Hold on. Thank you. Goodness gracious. That was a really good slide too. Let me just go back, y'all. Okay, so here, boom. I mean, it's an empty jar, right? So you've got that. Okay, yay, hey, there y'all are. So there's the empty jar. Here's the attitude slide, talking about how you're responsible to other people, but you're not responsible for other people. And as a mom, for me, it's one of the hardest things that I had to come to grips with. If they're not happy, how much of that is really my problem? The older they get, the less it is, right? And I know some of you, you've talked about co-parenting, and you've got the grandbabies. My children are now grown, and I'd say y'all are old. I don't know who your biological mom is, but she must be old because y'all are getting old. But you know what? Their happiness, I want to allow them the dignity, and I want to give them the respect to live with the consequences of their choices. There are so many times, and I find myself doing this, and I don't know if it's a mama and a son thing or not. Maybe y'all can enlighten me. But like when he wants to take me out to dinner and pay for it, it takes every fiber of my being to let him do that because he's my baby boy. And I just want to take care of him. And I'm not allowing him the dignity of being a grown married man with a job who can afford to pay for his mama's dinner, right? So my attitude towards him, even like respecting him as an adult, is something I have to keep in check. Yes, he's my baby boy. And so maybe when I said earlier, get rid of coulda, shoulda, and woulda, maybe get rid of those and adopt and. Yes, and. That's a tremendous tool that actors, especially in improv, use. Yes, and. In other words, what else? It expands possibilities and opportunities. So now let me go to that picture of, the beach ball. So anyway, just so you all know, this is a partial picture. When you look at it, what is your immediate thought? Oh, someone lost a ball? Or, oh, the ball's washed back up on shore. It's going to depend upon your perspective. You can only see from where you are. And there's an expression, if I can get it right, we don't see things how they are, we see things how we are. And I purposely have this here after attitude because I got to tell you, and I know I'm live, but I don't think anybody I'm related to is watching this. I'm already working on my attitude for tomorrow. I really am. I'm Lucretia's, yep. I'm working on it today. Because if I don't, I'm going to use my past and those experiences to color what I'm going into. And yes, I get it. I have 56, I said it out loud, years of experience with the majority of these people. And it doesn't mean this year is going to be like all the others. I know I'm different this year. So what I want to do is allow others the dignity to show up different as well. And I also have my escape plan already in order, right? I'm taking my own car. I'm wearing cute tennis shoes. So if I need to go out for a walk, I can go out for a walk. Thought about taking up smoking so I could go out for a smoke break, but that's not really a healthy thing to do, right? So I'm like, nope, just wear an outfit that you can wear tennis shoes with. So if you need to go clear your head, you can step away. So let's talk about perspective. It starts honestly with you. How do you see yourself? And understand this. You have permission to change it at any time. You know, I've got this iPhone here. That's my first time as an iPhone. Up until now, I've been bilingual. I spoke Apple and Android because I have an Apple computer. But I finally decided to just go all in. I'm mono, whatever it is. I just speak one language. I'm all Apple now. So I have given myself permission to change. And the thing is, I can change me, but Apple, I can't just go get a new phone anytime I want to, an upgrade, because there are terms and conditions that they set in place. However, I am free to switch back to Android if I want to. Okay. I am free to change how I see myself at any moment, at any time, on any given day. And you, my sisters, are free to do so as well. So give yourself permission to change your perspective, to change yourself, to say, you know what? I reacted this way 643 times, but this time, 644, I'm not, because I'm changing me. I can't change them, but I can change me. So another thing I encourage you to ask yourself is, what do you say when you talk to yourself? Here's a place where there's some other words to eliminate. Never and always. Y'all, those are the kiss of confinement. Never and always. Really? Really, really, really? Always, every single time, 1,000%? And never? When we say never, we've closed off any potential for the future. So what is it when you say when you talk to yourself? I want to give you these 3 little words. Michelle knows them. Up until now. Up until now, being with my family made me crazy. Up until now, I couldn't rely on that person. Up until now, I used to underexercise and overeat, whatever the case may be. Because what that does is that opens up the possibility for change. Finally, remember, it's a slow fade and it's a slow process. You've probably heard change doesn't happen overnight. It can if there's a crisis, and I get that. Generally speaking, however, it's a slow process. I recognize it took me 56 years to get this way. Everything's not going to change overnight, but it can change one day at a time. It can change one step at a time. It can change one no, N-O, 2 letters, can change one no at a time. It can change with no, not this time. It's going to be a slow process. But as we know, slow can be beautiful. Think about the caterpillar that turns into the butterfly. It's a slow process. Think about a nice juicy roast. Obviously, I need protein today, y'all. Talking about turkeys and hams and roasts. A roast cooked in a microwave versus a crock pot, not nearly as tasty. So there are benefits to things happening slowly. Dr. Joyce Brothers says, if you change nothing, nothing changes. So when it comes to clearing your crap, you can live free. One change, one moment, one day, one choice, one decision at a time. So what I would like to do is I would like to answer questions that you may have. Michelle shared a light bulb. Lucretia shared a light bulb. If nothing else, which letter resonated most with you? C, R, A, or P? For those of you who are here with us live, I'd love to hear. Teresa, do you mind sharing? It's kind of a pop quiz. I don't know if that's very fair.
I'm not very good at pop quizzes, but honestly, I loved all of it. This was good timing. You know, I just got a divorce, and so I have a lot of changes. And my glasses on so I can read my notes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Just the things you were saying about change, and it's okay, and you know that I don't have to think about the old life, and I don't know. Go to someone else. Let me think.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That's fine. And I want you to hop back in, but if I may, I want to speak to you for just a minute. So the rest of you ladies, indulge me if you don't mind. I know exactly where you are, Teresa. My divorce from a 32-year marriage is 5 months old.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I get it. And thank you. And I hate that you're having to go through this as well.
Thanks.
It's a true grief process. No matter how bad it was, it's still the death of a dream. None of us got married thinking that it wasn't going to turn out like the fairy tales. But when we really look at a fairy tale, you've got the wonderful beginning, the wonderful end. And what most of us forget is all the yuck in the middle. Dragons, the witches, the drama, all those things. And the thing with a fairy tale is, it's something that is written. Life is not written. There's no script for that. So my hope for you, if you don't mind, I dare say my prayer for you, is that you allow yourself to grieve it, to give yourself the grace that you need, to not judge yourself in any way, and to trust that it really does take two to make it work. One person can't want it more than the other and have a healthy partnership. So I just hope that you experience some peace going into this holiday season. There's no other word. Let's just say it starts with an S and ends with a K, because I promise not to be saltier than crap. Okay. I don't know if there are any kids. You can fill in the missing letters. All right.
Thank you.
It just is. So yeah.
I appreciate that. It's a lot.
Gloria, look at you and your animal print. Did you realize you're on fashion trend? Just FYI. Animal prints are big this season. So if y'all don't have some, go get some.
I think the thing that struck me was the rules, because all of us here have been on the journey with, we're kind of lectured about don't enable, and if you do this, you're enabling, and if you do that, you're enabling, and you shouldn't be enabling. And what I've discovered is that coping with the situation can be different for all of us, and we are allowed, and we should be able to explore what works for us and works for our situation, even if it doesn't work for somebody else, and even if somebody else is judging us as to what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. Ultimately, it's our journey, and we get to choose the rules.
Yep. Spot on. And that's totally about that whole attitude, right? Somebody else's opinion What they think of what you're doing, it's none of our business. And quite frankly, I don't care. Because all that's going to do is get me out of alignment and disconnect with my gut. And for me, gut is an acronym that stands for God's urging to. And when we're involved in these situations, we have to trust our gut. And that's not always what's in our head and what's in our heart. That's why it's a third one. It's our gut. And if our gut is telling us to do something, we owe it to ourselves to heed it. Now, do we take action on it always? Maybe, maybe not. But to heed it, to honor it and say, you know what, this is what my gut is telling me. And then you can ask yourself, is this something I should take action on or not? It was very interesting. I had this morning, my daily reading, there was like a word of the day today, and it was initiate. And I was kind of waiting around for something to happen this morning. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I have the choice. I have the power to initiate. And I did. And it turned out quite lovely. And I relieved my tension and I relieved my stress of wondering what if. So yes, what's working for you may not work for anybody else. And that is what can be so tricky is, here are the guidelines. What about the guardrails? And since we're all on our own path, they're all going to be a little different. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Michelle.
Yeah, that was all so good. I just feel like I love your metaphors. Like I'm hungry now for juicy roast beef, but
Me too.
when you said gut, God urging to, is that what it stands for? Okay.
Yes, God urging to, because we get that sense. And I know, again, love you. You're over 18. You understand. You've had opportunities in the past. Think about those times when you ignored your gut. What happened?
Many.
Did it turn out in your favor? Most likely not.
Busted. Yeah.
And then when you trusted it, it worked out. Just recently, and the example is escaping my mind. Oh, I know. So last Saturday, I partner, and Lucretia and I live in the same area, just so all y'all know. It's exciting. There's an organization called Beautiful Lives Boutique, and it's a nonprofit upscale thrift. And we serve women and children in crisis. So it's near and dear. It's like a passion project for me. And we had a booth at this big boutique show. Y'all, I'm talking big convention center type boutique show. And we'd sold this woman some merchandise. And several minutes later, we look down, and on the floor is a single earring. And thankfully, the gal who rung her up knew. She was like, this is that lady's. And she said, but Daphne, I don't remember what she looked like. And I said, is she the one who bought the red top? Yes. I said, I remember exactly what she looks like. I'll go try to find her. I took that earring. I stepped outside the booth and I paused. I turned to my right. I went down the aisle, and 3 booths away, there she was. I said, that's what happens when you're in alignment. Because y'all, that place was, who knows which way she went? Was she even still there? And I listened to my gut and I went right. And there she was.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah.
So,
But there's one more step in there. You actually afterward, you acknowledged where that came from.
Yep.
And that's where sometimes we're so busy that, there's these God winks all along the way, and we don't even realize that, where this is coming from and why these doors are opening, or why, our gut, is working for us. So very good. What was the name of that ministry that you called it? Beautiful
Lives Boutique. By the way, they have an online store. I'm just saying. And
Okay.
we help local and global ministries, but all of them have to do with helping women and children in crisis, women coming out of incarceration, aging out of foster care, human trafficking, all kinds of wonderful, sadly necessary missions and
Yes, I
ministries. In
love
fact,
that.
everything I had on at conference was from there, including that red
Cape. Your
and
Wonder
that
Woman cape.
black thing that I have with all the fuzzy. That's from there too. So anyway,
Oh,
Yeah.
that is so significant. Wow. Great.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to share that in the group, because one of the many things, well, the reason why I do what I do is because I just feel like there's so much potential in all of us. And until we can clear our crap, we can't serve using our gifts. And so this might be another place where somebody will want to serve or contribute to. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's-
Absolutely. Thank you. And I have an expression, if you're breathing, it's for a reason.
uh,
So to your point of each of us having a purpose, if you are still on this planet, if you're on this side of the soil, I heard somebody use that expression yesterday. If you're on the right side of the soil,
oh gosh.
there is something for you to accomplish. What? There's no telling. Until you explore, until you clear your crap, get out of our own ways, break those patterns that no longer serve us, acknowledge the hurts, change the habits. There's so much we really do have control over. And I know it's very easy, especially in the world of addiction, to feel like we don't have any. It starts with us. The end of my arm, between here and here, I got control over this. What's in here, what goes in or comes out of here, what goes in here, right? I've got way more control than I sometimes give myself credit for. Yeah.
Does anybody have questions for Daphne?
I'm pretty much an open book. I mean, I told y'all how old I am. I mean, what else is there?
Oh,
Oops,
wait.
you're
You're
muted.
muted.
Okay. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm older. So yeah.
I'm much older.
No.
I think I might be older than all of y'all. I don't
I
know.
don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. Well, I'm 62.
Me
I'll be
too.
70.
Okay. All right. You win.
You win, Gloria.
You look good, girl.
Yeah.
Looking
And I'm-
good.
And I'm 64, so I'm older than most of you too.
Oh, okay. All
Just
right. We're babies.
The
then.
baby in the
Okay.
group.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
We made your day.
Right? No kidding.
Well, you all look great. You're doing your self-care for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do, right? How can we care for someone
Yes.
else if
Yes.
we're not caring for ourselves? You've
It's
heard it. You
true.
pour out of an empty pitcher, right? When this is
Yep.
all gone, I got to fill it back up, or this cup serves no purpose.
That's
So
right.
taking care of ourselves. I've got a friend who doesn't really appreciate the term self-care. She prefers soul care.
Oh.
I'm cool with that,
Okay.
because when we are taking care of our soul, then we will take
Mhm.
care of ourselves. We are taking
Right.
care of ourselves,
Right.
right? So, yeah, I think it can go either way, but we definitely have to take care of ourselves, if nothing else, but to lead by example.
Mhm.
Hey,
That's true.
got it. Business.
So Daphne, if people want to reach out to you, I noticed your online, you have an assessment. Where can we find you? Where can they find you? And can you share a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my website is Daphne V, as in victorious, DaphneVSmith.com. If you want to reach out to me with a simple email, I'm Daphne at DaphneVSmith.com. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I have a speaker page. So if you want to find me, you can definitely find me. I am out there. And my entire really purpose on this planet is to help women. I like to lead and encourage them to love themselves as Christ does. Allow your hearts to heal and love yourself as he does. Because I've been there and I've done that. I call myself victorious for a reason. That's my secret name with God. And from what I've come through, from physical, emotional, verbal abuse, I was raised in an alcoholic household. It was such a high functioning alcoholic household that I didn't know it was an alcoholic household. I still remember the day in therapy when the therapist said, just kind of off the cuff, matter of fact, well, you know, since you were raised in an alcoholic household, and I went, what? But he could see the behaviors. And I'm the oldest of 3 girls. So I'm not lying, y'all. I'm honest truth. I left the office. I called both of my sisters and I asked them individually, were we raised in an alcoholic household? Like I didn't believe the professional. Hashtag denial, y'all. And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, well, people had jobs. There weren't boxes of bottles and people passed out in the yard. I mean, that's what I thought it meant. And I have come to learn so much since then. So I understand what it's like to live in it. I understand what it's like to live in denial. I also understand what it's like, and that's what my book, What's Your Scarlet Letter, is about. When we recognize our hurts, we release our shame, and we reclaim our voice. That is when we are truly living free.
I got chills. You're so, I just love you. Oh gosh.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. Oh gosh. You just help so many people, and it's so powerful, and it's such important work. And again, say the name of your book, so if anybody missed it, they can get it again.
Sure. It's What's Your Scarlet Letter, and it is hardback, paperback, audio. Finally got around to doing my audio and ebook. It's available on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And that's me. That's my story. I thank each and every one of you for hopping on today. It's been a pleasure to meet you. And if I was going to say a word of encouragement, would be tomorrow when we gather for Thanksgiving, whatever that looks like for you. In addition to saying grace, give grace and start with yourself.
That's true.
Yes, start with ourselves. Yes.
Mhm.
Whew, that's good. Thank you. You too, Daphne. You too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you again so much for being with us. Does anybody have any final questions for Daphne? No.
Not a question, but just thank you. This was great.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
We
you.
are so blessed by you this morning. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I will stop recording and end the meeting, and I will see you next Monday for our coaching call. Okay. Thanks again, Daphne.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Welcome. Bye,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Bless everyone. Bye.